Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 8 o'clock main news. In tonight's headlines, His Highness the Emir receives the General Coordinator of the Kuwaiti-British Friendship Committee. His Highness the Prime Minister chairs a meeting of the Supreme Petroleum Council. Israel resumes its airstrikes on Gaza as a proposed ceasefire that would have ended 8 days of fighting fails. And Iraq's parliament elects Salim al-Jabouri as speaker, breaking weeks of political deadlock. His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah al-Ahmed al-Jaber al-Sabah, received this morning at Sif Palace His Highness Sheikh Nasser al-Mohammed al-Ahmed al-Sabah. His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah al-Ahmed al-Jaber al-Sabah, received this morning at Sif Palace the General Coordinator of the Kuwaiti-British Friendship Committee, Abdullah Yaqub Bshara, committee members Dirar Yusuf al-Ghanim and Fahad Abdurrahman al-Bahar, the Minister of State for Cabinet Affairs and Acting Minister of Justice, Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah Mbarak al-Sabah, Mohammed Abdul Aziz al-Shaya, Mohammed Naqi and Badr Nasser al-Khrafi. His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah al-Ahmed al-Jaber al-Sabah, received this morning at Sif Palace the Chairperson and Managing Director of Kuwait Airways Corporation, Rasha Abdul Aziz al-Rumi, and the corporation's board members. During the meeting, al-Rumi introduced Captain Trainee Munira Mohammed Bouariki to His Highness the Emir as the first Kuwaiti female pilot working for Kuwait Airways. His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah al-Ahmed al-Jaber al-Sabah, received at noon today at Sif Palace the Chairman of the Drag Race Committee of Kuwait Quarter Mile Auto and Motorcycle Club, Sheikh Daij Fahd Salman al-Sabah, and racer Turki al-Dhafiri on the occasion of winning the car racing championship that was recently held in Qatar. His Highness the Crown Prince, Sheikh Nawaf al-Ahmed al-Jaber al-Sabah, received today at Sif Palace His Highness Sheikh Nasser al-Mohammed al-Ahmed al-Sabah. His Highness the Crown Prince also received the Municipal Council Speaker Mhalhal Nasser al-Khalid. His Highness Sheikh Jabir al-Mbarak al-Hamad al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, chaired the meeting of the Supreme Petroleum Council that was held at Sif Palace today. The meeting dealt with topics listed on the Council's agenda. His Highness Sheikh Jabir al-Mbarak al-Hamad al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, received today at Sif Palace the Ambassador of Kyrgyzstan to Kuwait, Yusupbek Sharipov, who conveyed a written message to His Highness from the Prime Minister of Kyrgyzstan, Jumat Obertayev. The message included an official invitation for His Highness the Prime Minister to visit Kyrgyzstan and dealt with ways of boosting bilateral relations between both countries in various fields. The Deputy Premier, Minister of Interior and Acting Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs, Sheikh Mohammed Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Subah, received this morning at his office the Chairman of Kuwait Lawyers Association, Wasmi Khalid Al-Wasmi, and the association's Treasurer, Daeid Ishaq, who extended congratulations to Sheikh Mohammed Khalid on the holy month of Ramadan. Sheikh Mohammed Khalid welcomed his guests and praised the association's role in supporting justice and discussed issues of common concern. For his part, the Chairman Al-Wasmi expressed gratitude and appreciation to Sheikh Mohammed Khalid for his continuous support for the association. Israel's military said today it has resumed airstrikes on the Gaza Strip after Hamas rejected a proposed ceasefire that was approved by Israel's Security Cabinet. Under an Egyptian plan proposed overnight, a 12-hour period of de-escalation was to begin at mid-morning today. Once both sides agreed to halt hostilities, they would negotiate the terms of a longer-term truce. Israel accepted the truce shortly after it was due to take effect. However, Hamas rejected the proposals, saying that Cairo hadn't consulted them. The current hostilities, in which at least 185 Palestinians have been killed, are the third intense flare-up between the two sides in less than 6 years. As the escalating Palestine-Israel conflicts continue, the Arab League held an overnight emergency meeting of foreign ministers at its headquarters in Cairo, where they exchanged views about how to stop the clashes between Palestine and Israel. Arab League Secretary General Nabil Al-Arabi said the League will offer the Palestinian people all necessary aid, as the airstrikes conducted by Israel on the Palestinian territories have aggravated the humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip. The meeting also discussed Palestine's request to the United Nations for putting it under international protection, while the foreign ministers appealed to the international community not to remain silent on Israel's airstrikes. A rally was held at the Kuwait Teachers Society to gather support for the victims of the current Israeli-Palestine crisis. Entitled "We Are All Gaza," they hope to raise awareness of the situation in the Gaza Strip, as well as to show support for Palestinians living both here and in the heart of the violence. Our reporter Badriya Saleh has more.
Hundreds of concerned and upset citizens from multiple nationalities united at Kuwait Teachers Society last night to rally support and spread awareness about the victims of the Israeli airstrikes in the Gaza Strip.
I hope people will go back home with maybe becoming more aware of the situation in Gaza. I know we have people all the time on the social media these days, but I hope we can the organizers can pass a message to the people to become more aware of the situation in Gaza, to become fully aware that what the people in Gaza are doing is something that is their right to do. They have the right to defend themselves.
We are here as a response for the criminals, Israeli criminals against the citizens in Gaza. There's a very bad situation there. My family is there and they are calling all the time, explaining the crimes against the civilians and how they threw the rockets over the heads of Palestinians and destroy homes. That's why we are here.
The week-old airstrike conflict has killed hundreds of Palestinians, majority of whom were civilians. The hundreds gathered here in Kuwait last night hope this blatant and severe display of condemnation will encourage world powers to intervene.
I want to send a message for the world. Where is the human rights when they talk about it? What about the bombs of now more than 700 tons of bombs Israel drop it on Gaza? Where is the human rights? That's it.
I want to say that the Israel occupation have to be stopped. They're killing many people. They're killing children. They're killing women. They don't bother who they were killed. They're killing many babies. We have to stop them. They have to stop. We have to ask the United Nations to stop them, and the Islamic countries and the Arabic League. They have to be stopped and leave our country. They have to leave Jerusalem and Palestine immediately now.
The current crisis in the Gaza Strip has garnered not only the support of local advocates, protests have broken out across the world. From the U.S. all the way to the other side of the globe in Australia, millions of people have made their outrage public. The hundreds gathered for the event, young and old, are hoping that rallies like this will be the beginning that will see change, immediate change, in the Gaza Strip to help those that are victims of this crisis. At the Kuwait Teachers Society, I am Badriya Saleh reporting for the English News.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry warned today of the great risk of spiraling violence between Israel and the Gaza Strip and called on Arab nations to push the Hamas group to accept a ceasefire. As he wrapped up 2 days of talks on Iran's nuclear program in Vienna, Kerry said that he had decided to cancel a trip to Egypt and return to Washington in order to give the Cairo-brokered ceasefire time to work. He also urged Arab nations to push the Hamas movement to accept the deal, which it has so far rejected, despite approval from Israel's cabinet. On the Iranian nuclear talks, Kerry said that intense nuclear negotiations with Iran have yielded tangible progress, but significant gaps remain ahead of a July 20th target date for a deal. Despite objections by Syria's government, the United Nations Security Council voted 15-0 yesterday to authorize cross-border convoys of emergency aid for millions of deprived Syrian civilians in rebel-held areas without prior approval by the Syrian authorities. The resolution strengthened the provisions of another adopted 5 months ago and signified a rare unanimity among the Security Council members over how to deal with the civil war in Syria, which is now in its 4th year. The resolution was a diplomatic setback for Bashar al-Assad's government, which said that any entry from its neighbours without the government's prior approval amounted to an incursion or an attack. Meanwhile, more than a dozen trucks carrying the latest batch of UN humanitarian aid of monthly rations for about 10% of the 31,000 people living in the rebel-held city of Maldamia entered the city near the capital, Damascus. Iraqi politicians brokered their deadlock today and elected Salim al-Jabouri as the new Speaker of Parliament, taking the first formal step towards forming a new government that is widely seen as crucial to confronting militants who have overrun much of the country. However, it wasn't clear whether the lawmakers had reached a larger deal that would also include agreement on the most contentious decision, the choice for Prime Minister. After voting behind closed doors, the legislature tallied the results on a whiteboard wheeled into the hall that showed lawmaker al-Jabouri winning with 194 votes in the 328-seat parliament with 60 abstentions. According to the Constitution, Parliament now has 30 days to elect a president, who will then have 15 days to ask the leader of the largest bloc in the legislature to form a government, and then a Prime Minister will be picked. Earlier today, security forces began an attack on Tikrit, aiming to revitalize an operation to retake it after that began more than 2 weeks ago, but became bogged down south of the city, and violence also struck south of Baghdad, with bombings in the Maidan area, killing 9 people, including 4 soldiers. As the Muslim world observes the holy month of Ramadan here in the state of Kuwait, which boasts a large number of foreign residents and expatriates, events and activities are organized on a daily basis. Multinational Muslims living in Kuwait get to experience how Ramadan is practiced and celebrated here, away from their home, while also non-Muslims residing in Kuwait also get a sense of the festive spirit, with the majority mostly expressing interest in the various nightly diwaniyas. Sarah Glubb has more in this story.
Even as a non-Muslim, the holy month of Ramadan feels like a special time of the year. It is a month of giving, peacefulness and introspection. And here in the state of Kuwait, there are so many things to do during this month, or even join in on the altered pace of life, where nightlife becomes more alive.
Ramadan it's the same in different Arab countries, but with some differences. And I think I'm here since 8 months, and I was surprised because Kuwait has some specificities in these months, especially with Diwaniyat and with this huge social relationship between people, between the government, between his Amir, High Amir, and with people. and really, especially by night, Ramadan by night, it's a life. It's another life in this country.
Wow.
We have, families change the visits, especially family friends, but we don't have the tradition of Diwaniyat. Diwaniyat is very good tradition in Kuwait. It's kind of small parliaments, and as ambassador of Tunisia, I'm happy to visit different Diwaniyats and to discuss with them about many things. In Tunisia, we have some specificity, of course. Ramadan, it's the life. We have a very rich life culture, especially by night.
There are several unique traditions practiced in Kuwait and the Gulf region during Ramadan, including the Girga'an festival, where children dressed in traditional costumes are given special sweets and candies, Ghabkaz, a grand meal that is served between iftar and suhoor, and regular nightly diwaniyas.
I am new here. I just arrived 3 months ago, and this is my first Ramadan. But it was a quite interesting experience for me, because during the Ramadan time, I could visit a couple of families, local communities every evening. So I can meet the local people and the every kinds of people here, and then it was a good experience to understand the local culture and the Kuwait culture. Well, whenever I visit Diwania, they serve Kuwaiti sweets and tea and Arabic coffee, and not only those coffee or tea, but also they give us their very kind mind. I mean, they would like to share with me their minds and heart, so which is very important for me, and as an ambassador representing Korea, to promote our Kuwaiti and the Korean relations.
Wish all the best to Kuwait, to His Highness the Emir of Kuwait, Crown Prince, Prime Minister, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, and all of the Kuwaiti, the people of Kuwait, peace and security and stability. The most important is visiting the Diwaniyat. I think it's unique in Kuwait, and we have the opportunity almost every night to make groups to go to visit some Diwania, meet the people, different kind of people, from the Prime Minister until different nationality also, and what we call Gabra, which we are invited from time to time by the Kuwaiti friends. I think it's unique, and I hope that they will continue the same thing. We have very few community, but we are about 150 person only, but from time to time we meet in my house as an ambassador or in one of our Senegalese community.
Life can be very hectic in Kuwait during this month, where large gatherings are held on daily occasions, as people prefer to rejoice and revel in this festive month together. As the country observes the holy month of Ramadan, it is almost impossible to not take part in the various rituals, activities, diwaniyas and events that take place throughout the country during this month, as they are infectious and enjoyed by both Kuwaitis, residents and expats alike. This is Sarah Gleb reporting for English News.
Moving to local financial news, for a second day in a row, the three main indices of the Kuwait Stock Exchange ended the trading session with a negative performance, as the price index dropped by 53 points to reach 7,105 points. The KSX 15 index also lost 9 points and settled at the level of 1,167 points. The share of the real estate asset management company was the top gainer of the day, while that of a grain holding company was the top decliner. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. And to recap tonight's news, here are the headlines once again. His Highness the Emir receives the General Coordinator of the Kuwaiti-British Friendship Committee. His Highness the Prime Minister chairs a meeting of the Supreme Petroleum Council. Israel resumes its airstrikes on Gaza as a proposed ceasefire that would have ended 8 days of fighting fails. And Iraq's parliament elects Salim al-Jabouri as speaker, breaking weeks of political deadlock. Thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.